Hi everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel, Excel with Solo. Here we share techniques, tips, and tricks of Microsoft Excel. In this video, we'll be solving a problem that anybody who deals with data would usually face, and that is the problem of omitted or missing data. Now, before we go into what the problem is, let's look at what we're supposed to expect, as in what an ideal data set would look like. Now, in this result sheet, we have a class of students who belong to different courses admin, different classes admin, BD, Power BI, and all that. So because we have their classes attached to their names, we can do a simple analysis that tells us number of students in each class, and we use the count if function that looks at the class column and counts how many students we have for each class. However, the data don't usually come this way with all the necessary fields or necessary records in place. We have them in this format. In a class, only one of the students will be assigned the class tag, just like we have here. We have in business development class, we have only Kolapo Folake. In Power BI, only one person, and on like that. So what we're going to try and do in this video is to look at 4 ways of solving this problem of filling the missing records or missing data in our data set. So let's get to it. The first method we're going to look at is the go to special method. Now, this is one of the tools we find or we've that is found in Microsoft Excel. So to get to it, you go to the home tab, you go to find and select, you go to special, and you get a dialog box that allows you to specify um, the kind of cells you're trying to look for in your Excel sheet. For instance, this one here, this is default selection says you want to look for cells that contains notes. Here you want to look for cells that contain constants, but what we're going to be looking for are the cells that are blank. Another way of getting to the go to special dialog box is to use Control G. Control G takes you here and you click on the special, right? So the first thing we do is we select our data set. All right, we select the whole of the data set and go to the go to special tab, click on blanks and say okay. Now what this simply does is that it selects all the cells in our data set that are blank. Now while you have it selected like that, just type equal to on the first blank cell, which in this case is a cell A3. All right, that means, and select the cell above the first blank cell that contains the data you want to fill down. While that is in place, hold down the control key and press enter, and you will see the magic happen, and your data gets filled down to all the relevant blank cells with the relevant record. And if you add more data right here, you can come to here, go to the end of the record, paste it, and do exactly what we have done before. Go to special, blanks, okay, equal to the cell above, control enter, and your record gets filled. Simple, straightforward, easy. The next method we're going to look at is the Power Query method. Power Query is a tool that was added, is a feature that was added in Microsoft Excel from, I think from 2010. I'm not entirely sure now, but I'm certain that you get it from 2010 upwards. I'm not sure if it's in the earlier ones as an add-in, I think as an add-in. So what do we do? You go to the data tab. Before we go there, we are going to convert this record set to a table. Now, it is not that is the tool is not going to work without converting to a table, but it's easier to deal with when we convert to a table. And so our table name is table 1. Let's take note of that. And so once we have done that, we go to our data tab and go to the get and transform group all right, in data tab, and look for the um, from range or table and click on that. Once you click on this, it will show you the Power Query editor. And in the Power Query editor, you will see a snapshot or a replica of the data you have in your table. Right? We have the table 1 here by our side here. So what that simply does is that you go to a transform tab in your Power Query editor and go to the fill tool and click on down, and automatically your blank cells or your null cells get filled down with the relevant data. Okay, the next thing to do is to load your generated data onto wherever you want, to a new sheet or an existing worksheet. Now, if I choose close and load, it will add this record to a new sheet. But I want to put this record on the same sheet on which the original data resides. So I'm going to click on close and load to. So I'm going to say existing worksheet, and I'm going to place it in the column E and press enter. And my data gets populated, my analyzed record data gets populated beside the original record set. Now, if I add more data here, the Power Query, enter, just come to your data tab and press and click on refresh all, and your data gets refreshed. As simple and as straightforward as that. Now, the next one we are going to look at is the VBA method. What is VBA? VBA means Visual Basic for Application. This is the part of Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and Access that allows you to write codes to automate processes in these applications. So in this case, we are looking at VBA in Excel. So the VBA in Excel allows us to write programming codes that is used to automate process in Excel. Now, for you to use this, you are going to have to use developer tab. But if it's not in your worksheet by default, if it's not in your file by default, of course not there by default actually. If it's not in your among your ribbon, you have to go to the file tab, go to options, and go to customize ribbon, check check the developer tab for it to appear. I've checked mine already, and so that's why I have it there. So I'll go to the record set and convert it to a table. It's easier to deal with these things when they are in table format, right? So let's go to our developer tab, go to Visual Basic. Now, the first thing you will do is you go to the insert option and click on insert module. Now, what the module does is holds subroutines. Subroutines are actually set of instructions or set of codes that is meant to do one or two things. So the first thing we do is we do a sub and name what our subroutine is going to be. I'm going to call it fill data down. And once you press the enter key, all right, the system is going to give you the opening and closing parentheses. So after this is in place, we need to define our variable. And what variable are we defining? We are trying to define a variable called C. So we say dim C as range. Now, a range, as many of us would know, is a cell, a collection of cells in an Excel worksheet. So we are saying that C, as a variable, represents any cell in whatever range we have selected. I'm going to explain that. So it means that if I select a range in Excel, each cell in that range is represented by this variable called C. So next thing we'll do is that we are going to write a for next loop. A for next loop loops through a set of items and does whatever is in between the for and the next part of the code. So let me do that for each C in where? What's our table name? Our table name is what? Our table name is table 3. So for each C, for each cell in table 3, so in range table 3, in the class column of the table 3, this is supposed to have one extra one here. In table 3, next C. So what this is going to do is that it's going to loop through every cell in the class column of table C. So it's going to loop through this first cell here, the admin, loop through this, loop through this, loop through this, one by one. So when it loops through, what I want you to do, I'm going to say if C is equal to blank, then C dot fill down and if. So what that simply means is that if you go through this range, the column class, the class column rather, check for every cell in that column, and if it is blank, copy what is above it into it. Copy what is above the blank cell into the blank cell. So next thing we're going to do now is to attach that code to an object. So we have placed the button on the system on the sheet and clicked this here. So I want you to pay attention. Once you click this button, the system will fill up the empty cells with the relevant data like that. Now, if we add more data to it, here, and we press the button, it automatically fills it up. And that is the VBA method. Now, the last method here, you will see I place it away from the others, and that is the if function. Now, the reason why I did that is because the if function requires an helper column. There's an extra column that is involved in using this method. So what do? We say equal to if the class column, which is column A, is equal to blank. If it's blank, what do we want to do? We want you to copy the data above it. So we're saying D1 should be copied into this cell. If not, retain whatever you have there. And when we double click, it just simply fills everything the way it is meant to be. So we now copy this and paste it as values only. So that is where the helper column comes in. If you put extra record here, oh sorry, put extra record here, copy this, put extra record here, double click, and gets filled up accordingly. Okay, so I hope you have been able to learn something in this video. Please share, like, and subscribe if you have not subscribed. Also, please press the notification bell so that you can get notified when we upload new videos. Thank you for your time. See you in the next